Hello everyone, it is Tuesday, it is December, no it isn't, it's not December, it's January 5th, 2021, and this is of course a brand new episode of First Chapter Fun. So welcome and Happy New Year. I see Maureen has joined and Glennie and Al as well on Instagram. I'm not sure if I'm hoping I'm live on what's the other one? Facebook. I always have to fiddle around with the technology because sometimes we can't see comments. Oh, yep, I see I'm live. Yep, and I see the comments. Great, so I can get rid of that. Hello, Jill. Jill is watching on Facebook. Jen Jumba has joined on Instagram, as has Hank. Hi, Hank. I hope everybody's well. And Catlaw and Deborah as well. And Glennie, I see Glennie on Facebook too. So this is absolutely wonderful. Welcome to a brand new year, to many episodes of First Chapter Fun. If this is the first time you've joined, my name is Hannah Mary McKinnon, and with my author in my partner in fictional crime, Hank Philip Urine, we read the first chapter of a different book every Tuesday and every Thursday right here on First Chapter Fun on Instagram, on my phone here with a lovely filter, always good, and on Facebook on my webcam, which is always good fun to do this on two platforms. So in case this is the first episode, or if this is the, 122nd episode, because today is indeed the 122nd episode of First Chapter Fun, can you believe it? And all of them, every single one of them, has been saved in Instagram to our IGTV and on Facebook in the new Facebook under media and then videos, so you can actually watch them to your heart's content. And our aim, Hank and my aim, is to, of course, introduce you to new or new to you authors and books, and to make sure that we keep your to-be-read pile completely out of control. Because, you know, who doesn't always want to have a long list of books to read? I know I do. So how was your new year? I hope you had fun. We didn't do much. We followed the rules. It was the five of us, household sticking together. Christmas Eve we watched Die Hard because it is a Christmas movie. So New Year's Eve we watched Die Hard 2 because, why not? And it was fun and silly. And I think about at midnight we said Happy New Year, and by about 12:15 that was it. We were all tired and we were in bed and we were done. But it's a brand new year. And Hank and I are so pleased to be able to bring you more and more episodes to continue this adventure, First Chapter Fun, and keep building this community with you. We actually reserved a spot. Get this, we reserved a spot yesterday for First Chapter Fun for a book that's coming out in December, which is completely nuts. And we are actually booked, I think, pretty much solid until at least June or July. And it gets maybe a little bit spotty after that, but we have such incredible books coming up for you, and we're very excited. So let me tell you, I was just thinking, I don't have my iPad, because that's how I normally show the books, but I don't need my iPad today because I'm going to introduce you to this book, and I have a copy, a real proper copy. Not that ebooks aren't proper copies, don't let anyone tell you that, that's not true. But I have a paperback of Little Lovely Things by Maureen Joyce Connolly, and this is our first read, our first Chapter Fun episode of 2021, and we're so delighted to be bringing you this book, which is out now. So this is one that you'll be able to get your sticky mitts on, as I like to say, immediately. And I see so many people joining, so many comments. So Maureen has joined. I see Maureen on Instagram. Let me check on Facebook as well. Jacqueline says, I'm here ready for fun. Ooh, no pressure then. Dale's here as well. Hi Dale, good friend of mine from a writing class. And I see Maureen as well on Facebook. So you can leave Maureen questions, ask her stuff about the book. I don't know, where did the title come from? Was it called something else? Inspiration? Does she know the model, little girl on the cover, or whatever it is that might intrigue you. Maureen's here, she can answer your questions. And remember, on Instagram, the comments disappear once we move it to Instagram Live. Excuse me, once we move it to IGTV. I'm struggling today, must be out of practice. But certainly on Facebook, all of the comments always stay there. So if you do have a question and Maureen doesn't have a chance to answer it on Instagram, you can always head on over to Facebook and leave it there, providing, of course, you've joined the group so far. Maureen, you keep saying this. You're so excited to hear the parakeet sounds. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. We have Tracy Clark who's joined. We read from Tracy's book last year, and it's brilliant. And Beth says that her TBR list, so her to be read list, is growing like crazy, which is absolutely the way we want to keep it. So let me tell you, let me put that one over there, let me tell you a bit more about Maureen, because our authors always have such interesting backgrounds. I find it's absolutely fascinating to find out. And I've said this so many times before, you know, but it never gets old, reading about authors and what they've done and the career they've had and the experience that they bring to writing, which is quite extraordinary. So let me tell you about Maureen Joyce Connolly. My glasses are fighting me. All right, so Maureen is a former owner of a consulting firm that helped specialty drug companies to develop medications for ultra-rare diseases. She received her bachelor's degree in physiology from Michigan State University and her master's degree in liberal studies from Wesleyan, is that right? Wesleyan University. You'll correct me, I'm sure. Just tell me I'm saying it wrong. Her background in science and love of the natural world informs and inspired her writing. And Little Lovely Things is her debut novel. There it is again. It published in April 2019. So you're able to get your hands on it, like I said, your sticky mitts, immediately. But not right now, because I'm going to read you part of the first chapter. And before I forget, sometimes Instagram and or Facebook play tricks on Hank and myself and boots us out. If that happens, depending when it is during the reading, I'll come back and start the reading again, but hopefully we'll be okay. I know there have been some internet issues with a different provider that we have. Something about all the kids now being at home because we're on lockdown again, and they're all joining class online. So hopefully it'll stay stable. I hope so. Hold on, let me get rid of that. Jacqueline says that Maureen's background is impressive. It is indeed. Oh, Hank, thank you. It's Wesleyan University. See, I did not know that. I normally research stuff. Hank and I always read through stuff and prep beforehand. And depending on the text, there are always some stuff to check to make sure I pronounce it properly. And I had written that one down and then I forgot. So yeah, I'm gonna call it middle age. We'll just go with that. Got a big birthday coming up in May. Not quite sure how I feel about that. But anyway, enough about me and my big birthdays. Let's talk about Little Lovely Things by Maureen Joyce Connolly. And let me read you the back cover copy, because I tell you what, just reading the description of the book gave me the chills. The premise is so strong. It's just your worst nightmare. I mean, it really is. And I absolutely love it. So, as we say in England, get a load of this. It is the wrong time to get sick. Speeding down the highway on the way to work, her two little girls sleeping in the back seat, medical resident Claire Rawlings doesn't have time for the nausea overtaking her. But as the world tilts sideways, she pulls into a gas station, runs to the bathroom, and passes out. When she wakes up minutes later, her car and her daughters are gone. The police have no leads, and the weight of guilt presses down on Claire as each hour passes with no trace of her girls. All she has to hold on to are her strained marriage, a potentially unreliable witness who emerges days later, and the desperate but unquenchable belief that her daughters are out there, somewhere. As hopeful and uplifting as it is devastating, Little Lovely Things is the story of a family shattered by unthinkable tragedy and the unexpected intersection of heartbreak and hope. Well, if that doesn't grab you by the heart and the guts and everything else, I don't know what will. Little Lovely Things by Maureen Joyce Connolly. Available now. Not right now, don't do it right now. Let me read you the first, oh gosh, I can't even think of the word. Let me read you the first chapter. Geez, I really am having a bit of a middle-aged moment here. Oh, and I see Catherine says, "Hi Maureen, I'm reading this book right now." Not right now. No, just kidding. That's amazing. I'm just checking the comments to see if there are any. No, nothing. Great. Okay. Just wondering if there were any questions I needed to answer, but there are not. So, let me read you a little bit of Little Lovely Things by Maureen Joyce Connolly. Great cover too, right? Isn't that amazing? There we go. So I'm going to read you this right now. This is part 1, 1991. When Claire Rawlings thought of her family, it was more with the mind of a geologist than a physician. The sweeping drumlin of Andrea's collarbone, the narrow plane of Lily's sternum, the sculpted features of Glenn's face. Her dreams, too, were crowded with images of rocks and continents gliding, meeting at ragged seams and then drifting apart. This night, the first Saturday in September, with a heat wave stalled over Greater Chicago, Claire woke sitting upright, pillow crushed to her chest. A mosaic of impressions, foggy and frenetic, competed for clarity in her brain. Something vague about the girls. Her nightgown, twisted and damp, clung to her body, even as a chill ran along her skin. She turned toward the landscape of her husband, dark against the pearlescent glow of the window. Claire could smell him more clearly than see him, the musty scent of heated skin and sweat-tinged bedclothes. "You were calling out," Glenn said, shifting to his side. Their boxer mix, Gretchen, who was curled into a tight cashew between them, groaned at the disturbance. Claire touched her hand to her temple. In addition to a minor headache, fragments from that dream were hide and seeking in and out of her consciousness. A yellow sky, a pond covered with treacherous ice. She'd go check on the girls. But first she leaned over her husband, peeking under the forearm that was thrown across his face as if he were shielding himself from some unseen onslaught. "Room air conditioner," Claire whispered, as if a magical incantation would cause Glenn to lose his frugality, his fear of falling short of money before she completed her medical program. She was in the final phase, all clinical rounds, with only 5 more months to go. Slipping carefully from bed, she left the sleeping duo in peace. In the hallway, the house seemed to sigh in the layered light, darker near the ceiling, softer near the window. Built in the late 60s, pretty much everything inside, including the kitchen linoleum floor, remained original. In the surrounding yard, saplings had grown into mature maples and oaks. Claire often imagined this house longed for unfettered sunlight as much as it did for upgraded appliances. Outside the girls' room, Claire's thoughts went to her pregnancies, the rich awareness of fetal cells inside her dividing like wildfire, each one blossoming from a small bud into a perfect being. 2 beautiful daughters, 3 years apart. As she entered the doorway, a snapshot from the dream flashed in her mind. This time, icy stalagmites gleamed in the distance, and 2 small figures appeared on the pond, and then nothing. Momentarily losing her breath, Claire steadied herself against the dresser. She could just make out near her hand a spray bottle where bits of plant material, most likely dandelion, hung in shadowy suspension. Monster repellent jetted each night into every corner, the closet and under the bed before lights out. This was all 4-year-old Andrea, in so many ways Claire's binary star, stubborn, feisty, and exhaustingly curious. She now lay silently on top of the covers, her valance of short brown hair matted with perspiration. Across the room, 15-month-old Lily slept soundly in her crib under the window. Beneath her quartz-pink lids were crystal blue eyes shaped like sideways teardrops, and that froth of yellow hair, always a struggle to get into a ponytail. Claire glanced again at Andrea's concoction, slightly aglow in a thin shaft of light. A crescent of lemon peel was barely discernible in the murk. She smiled. These materials had been gathered and assembled with Andrea's characteristic attention to detail. But could this be evidence that my daughter might be feeling insecure? Even with in-home daycare and Glenn's teacher's schedule, the girls wanted Mum. No, she shook her head. She wasn't quite thinking right. This was just the heat and the perennial lack of sleep, shifting her already active imagination into overdrive, scuttling her thoughts into frantic insects. Just last night, she'd almost delivered a dose of Tylenol to Andrea before realising it was Lily with the teething pain. Andrea was fine. Both girls were fine. Claire wiped a hand across her eyes. They were moister than they should be. The headache was growing more insistent, and fatigue flushed through her limbs. She dropped quietly onto the rocker patterned with Mother Goose characters. The bedroom door squeaked open, and a square black nose followed by a sleek dog body padded in. Gretchen sniffled Claire's hand and then collapsed with a satisfied grunt next to her chair. Leaning back, Claire inhaled the clovery sweetness of her daughters, her beauties, still so much a part of her very body. Along with Glenn and Gretchen, this family was the closest thing to a single perfect organism. A shiver of contentment raced through Claire's veins, overshadowed only by a strange feeling left by that dream. Chapter 1. Claire. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Claire woke bleary-eyed to the sound of neighbourhood sprinklers through the open window. Swords of sunlight cut through the tree cover into her eyes. Her back grumbled at the angle she'd struck in the Mother Goose chair, 90 degrees south for her lumbar region, 20 degrees north for her neck. The girls' beds were empty. A brief ember of panic stirred until Glenn appeared in the doorway. "Can you hurry, Claire? I have to be at the field in 30 minutes. He helped as assistant coach to the high schools football team on weekends for extra income. "Lily's dressed." "Andrea?" "Nope, but eating Eggos." "1 for 2. Claire tilted forward and groaned. "I'm hurrying." "You okay, hon?" She nodded. It was her turn to take over their shared routine. She dragged herself to the bathroom and into the shower, where the hot water goose-fleshed her skin. Glenn appeared in a cloud of steam to hand her a towel and then pointed to her stomach. "Claire?" She looked down. A faint rash was splayed across her abdomen like a pink canis major. "Might be," she spoke slowly over the din of the water, careful not to convey concern. "Slight reaction." "Reaction?" Glenn's voice tensed. "To what?" "Hep C vaccine." A new strain of the virus was invading healthcare facilities like mad, messing with patients' livers or kidneys. The residents had been put on an accelerated vaccination schedule, 2 doses, back to back. Glenn's gem blue eyes filled with worry. "Don't do that, babe." "What?" "That oversensitive thing. It's nothing. I'll take a Benadryl." "You should call in." You know I can't do that. Or you won't. He paused before smiling. Laid a t-shirt and shorts on the bed for Andrea. Claire dried off, dressed, and hurried into the kitchen, where Glenn blew 3 kisses before disappearing out the door. Sunlight blared across the worn flooring, promising another scorching day. Claire convinced herself she was feeling okay, even as a new ache spread into her jawline. It was now 7:30, and caught in motion, there was no time to slow down and reconsider her schedule. Dog, dog. Lily wriggled in her high chair, her unbrushed hair fluffy as a dandelion in seed. She looked at Claire and thumbed a mound of syrup off her tray, which threaded its way to the dog's waiting muzzle. Ta-da! Lily, no! Claire groaned. You too, Jean, no! Gretchy's monk brown eyes swam with guilt as she snuffled the amber goo with her blunt snout. Andrea, can you help? Claire turned to find her older daughter standing next to the parakeet cage, still in her curious George nightgown. Andrea wedged a finger into the gap of her missing front tooth and wiggled, attempting to loosen the remaining one. With her other hand, she stuffed a neat little triangle of waffle through the wires of the cage. Soldier Grey Butkus scooted along his perch, his right wing flaring awkwardly like misfolded origami. Claire rubbed her temples with her fingertips. Andrea, don't. He doesn't eat waffles. Why not? It'll make him sick, that's why not. How? Honey, Claire sighed, it just will. She almost said, he'll choke on it, that's how. He'll gobble it down, and it will gloom into a wad in his gizzard, and he'll end up at the bottom of his cage, feet pointing to heaven, X's for eyes, strangled on a frozen pastry. But she chose her words carefully around Andrea, the daughter with mercurial eyes and moods to match. You could never tell which way she took things, sometimes indifferent, other times overly concerned, like an old man in a little girl packet. Butkus snatched the morsel, his sharp beak too close to Andrea's finger, and gobbled it down in one smooth motion. He then scooted quickly back to the centre of his perch to stare at Claire accusingly with one white-rimmed eye. His scratchy little voice pierced the air with a strain of verbal awareness. Hurry up! Okay, Claire responded in a falsetto tone, the one she used on Glenn when he pissed her off. Thank you, Butkus. What did you say, Mummy? Nothing, honey. Please, hurry. Claire lifted Lily from her high chair and grabbed the Benadryl from the cupboard. She took only one dose because, Christ, she had to function on rounds today. Damn bird! Within 20 minutes, Claire was leading Lily outside across the driveway to their 91 Taurus wagon, a gift from Glenn's parents to help in this final surge until Claire became a doctor. Smattered with the detritus of Happy Meals and goldfish, the interior was now a disaster zone. She set the daycare bag on the seat and rummaged in the glove box for her wraparound sunglasses, the kind that pretty much blocked all light. She slipped them on her face and then opened the back door. That was the prologue, which was the word I was searching for before, and part of the first chapter of Little Lovely Things by Maureen Joyce Connolly. Isn't that brilliant? That was such a fun read. And the parakeet. So I learned, I did not know this, that actually a parakeet is the equivalent, what we would call a budgie or budgerigar. So, and my grandparents used to have one. We gave them one when I was a kid, about 8. We gave my grandparents a budgerigar, or a parakeet, I guess. And he was called Joey. And he started to talk, and he sounded just like my grandfather, to the point where the budgie would say, the bird would say, do you want a cup of tea? Actually, do you want a cup of tea, Elsie? Or however my grandfather would say it. Her name was Elsie and my grandfather's name was Percy. It's way more information that you wanted to know, but that was it anyway. And she would answer yes, because she would think it was my grandfather asking her if she wanted a cup of tea, when in fact it was Joey the bird. So there you go. fun parakeet story that, you know, you didn't ask for on First Chapter Fun. But there you go. So this was today's read. Little Lovely Things. You can see that. Yes, you can. Brilliant. By Maureen Joyce Connolly, which is available now. And let me give you her social handles, because I didn't do that before. So you will find her dead easy, maureenjconnolly.com. On Instagram and Facebook, she is Maureen J. Connolly, which is double N double L author, so Maureen J. Connolly author. And on Twitter, she is M. Connolly author. But she will be tagged, of course, on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So you'll be able to find her and learn more about Maureen and her books. So Diane says, I will be getting this one shortly, with a big smiley face. I love that. Oh, Sharon, thank you. Sharon, during her book, She Lies Close, we read from that one a couple of months ago. She says, lovely reading, Hannah. Thank you. And Maureen liked my parakeet sound. Woohoo! I wasn't quite sure if I was doing it right. But anyway, I hope that. I'm glad it worked. And we have Catherine, who says, I'm terrified of birds. My best friend Becky, she's terrified of birds as well. Really terrified, to the point where if we went out to eat, and even if it was really hot, we would never sit outside. We would always sit inside, because just even a little, a sparrow would freak her out, which must be really awkward. I feel for you, Catherine. That must be really, really tricky. And Shannon says, shouldn't laugh. I had a parakeet when I was a toddler. I opened the back door and it flew out and never got him back. No, because he's flying away going, I'm free. And Hank says, we had a minor bird. It was terrible. It learned to imitate the phone ringing. Oh no, that would be... That's even better than the do you want a cup of tea, Elsie story. That's amazing. Brilliant. Okay. Let me show you the cover today, as we're coming up to 1 o'clock. First Chapter Fun is always we try and keep it to about half an hour. So this was Little Lovely Things by Maureen Joyce Connolly. And let me tell you about Thursday's read. We're really excited for this one as well. So Thursday's read is called Strike Me Down by Mindy Mejia. Now, I met Mindy at BoucherCon, Murder Mystery Readers and Writers Convention, and they have it every year. Bar last year, of course, it was cancelled. It wasn't cancelled, it was virtual. This was a couple of years ago when it was in Toronto in 2017. Gosh, already. And I met Mindy there, and she is just fantastic. And I had the pleasure of reading this book about a year ago. This one's already out. The paperback is just releasing, actually. And I read it in one sitting, literally on the way to New Brunswick last year. I just sat in the car with my Kindle. I had it on my Kindle, and I just read the whole thing. A kickboxing tournament and $20 million of missing prize money. So this is Thursday's read, and I highly, highly encourage you to join for that one too. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of First Chapter Fun. Bird noises and parakeet stories galore for you. And I do hope that you'll be joining Hank and myself again on Thursday here on Instagram and, of course, on Facebook at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So until then, please, as always, stay safe, stay kind, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you for watching.